All right, guys, this is the fifth episode of Sons of Pitches, and we're here with an emergency podcast based on some very drastic and recent developments made in the footballing world over the past few hours. So, for those of you who don't know, we saw the formation of this new European Super League by 12 power clubs in Europe, and this is a decision that could potentially affect and change football as we know it. So before we sort of delve into what's been going on and what we happen to gain or lose from this, let's just go over the developments yesterday, what happened, and why it might be interesting, right? So over the past few hours, 12 clubs in Europe. So the 12 clubs are the top six in the Premier League, the top three in Spain, Inter Milan, AC Milan, Juventus. So those are the top 12 who made their decision clear that they want to sort of break free from the current Champions League format, and they want to make their own league called the European Super League, where the top 12 are constants. They keep playing the tournament and they play it amongst themselves, they just stand to gain a lot of monetary incentive out of it, right? So that's what the ESL is about. It what happens is that it essentially seeks to replace the existing Champions League format, right? Which is something that UEFA are not cool with, obviously, because it essentially breaks away from all things UEFA. FIFA are also not cool with it. Neither are the domestic leagues. So we're here to sort of dissect some of it. And yeah, Satyajit, why don't you start us off, man? What did you think? Uh, what did you think about it?
Yeah, I think the European Super League is definitely something which a majority of the fans do not want. I don't think anyone asked for this league to come up, and I think that it's going to be a travesty if it does take place because it's just going to increase the inequality we already see in football at this moment. We already see the fact that Everton, Leicester, they are doing better than the likes of Arsenal and Tottenham, and yet they are being excluded from this European Super League. This is not a merit-based competition. This is based solely on how much money you have as a club, and I think that it's a travesty, and definitely it's something which fans are unanimously against all over the football world. I've seen people come out from pundits to I don't know, Instagram pages. Everyone is saying that this is a disgrace, and I wholeheartedly agree with each and every one of them.
Yeah, so you mentioned the sort of power shift that we're seeing in terms of clubs that don't have the same amount of prestige as clubs like Arsenal and Spurs, and they're doing better than those clubs. But the European Super League essentially welcomes the likes of Spurs and Arsenal in spite of their more recent performances. So that's something that's really surprising. Before we dig into some of the consequences, though, I'd just like to go over the ESL format. We're going to be referring to it as ESL from now on. So what the format is essentially.
Guys, before that, we need to go through all the teams who are in the league. We haven't gone through that yet.
No, we did it. The top six from England.
Mhm.
So and then the top three from Spain and the top
The
three from.
teams, the teams who are the founding clubs of the ESL are AC Milan, Arsenal, Atletico Madrid, Chelsea, Barcelona, Inter Milan, Juventus, Liverpool, Manchester City, Manchester United, Real Madrid, and Tottenham Hotspur. And there is a rumored three other teams who have confirmed, and they are going to release it apparently in the next few hours. We haven't heard of anything of the sort as of yet officially, but I'm sure that if we wait for a few hours, full confirmation about all the final teams, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So essentially, we're going to have 15 founding members, some of which Abhimanyu just mentioned, and they're also going to be joined by five further teams who are going to qualify annually based on their performance in the tournament, right? And the format is that the teams are going to be split into two groups of 10, right? You're going to have home and away fixtures, and the top three in each group qualify for the quarterfinals, right? And the teams finishing fourth and fifth, they compete in a two-legged playoff for the remaining quarterfinal position. Okay. These quarterfinals are like a two-legged format. and it just goes to the final, which is a single game, which is going to be held at a neutral venue, right? So that's the ESL format that's been proposed. But yeah, Satyajit, what you mentioned about the likes of Leicester, for example, who are outperforming Arsenal, Spurs, but the ESL just welcomes clubs based on their prestige and their history, which is something that I don't necessarily agree with, that fans don't necessarily agree with. And it what it does is that it essentially widens the gap between these perceived great clubs and the rest of the pack, right? So the likes of Leicester, Everton, for example, the clubs who've been doing well recently, they don't stand to gain anything out of it. It's just the heavyweights who sort of get that sort of incentive going for them.
I would also like to add that even the prestige that you're mentioning regarding the likes of Arsenal and Tottenham, they have never actually won a UEFA Champions League trophy in their however long that they have existed. In fact, I think Aston Villa and Nottingham Forest have more Champions League trophies between them than Arsenal, Tottenham, and Manchester City, assuming that they do not go ahead and win it this year. But yeah, it's a travesty. Like you mentioned, I don't even think it's to do just with prestige. It's also to do with how much money the owners are bringing into the club. So yeah, I think that's all I wanted to say.
Reason for that these clubs have given for this big decision that they've taken is that the pandemic has caused instability among the top teams. Apparently, they have a lot of money going out, they need some money going in. So, forming a partnership is the best way, according to them, to offset the effects that the pandemic has had on football. But so, to help offset the effects, quote unquote, each team gets a 3.5 billion euro investment just off the bat. You join the league and you get 3.5 billion euros. That is some big, big, big money we're talking about here.
Yeah. So, and that's also like a big incentive behind the European Super League, right? So
It's the
it's
only
I
incentive.
rather
There is
argue
no
that
other incentive that a club can have for doing something like that.
yeah,
Single-handedly,
but
single-handedly destroying football as it is today overnight can only be done if the incentive is big enough. And we all know the biggest incentive in the world for football clubs for everything is money. You,
no,
you
but
can't you
let's
can't justify it in any other way. I'm sorry, I'm very sorry, but there is no other justification for this. And I can't have you come and tell me that it's not about the money, it's about the competition, and it's about this and that. We all know it's about the money. At least
well,
own up to it.
let's make an argument for against that from the point of the owners and
Yeah,
the
the owner of the clubs. Go for it.
the people who want to advocate for the European Super League, right? So the what they're saying is that over the past few years, we've seen European football skyrocket from a platform that's just been European in nature to a more global platform, right? So you've seen people in America, for example, you're seeing it with the MLS, the growing popularity of that. You're seeing it in Asia. In Asia, people are crazy about European football. In America, you're seeing the likes of the Audi Cup, etc., etc. So it's been becoming more and more popular. And what I feel the owners want to do here is that they want to increase the frequency that these big teams are playing each other, right? To cater to that global audience even more, right? They don't want a minority consumer platform anymore. They want to sort of extend the reach to a more global audience, and 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 this in large part has to do with social media. So we're seeing clubs like United and Real Madrid, Barcelona, these heavyweights, they have massive social outreach, right? So people all over the world, they support these teams, and they want to see these teams play against each other more and more, right? And so that's something that I think they want to do. They want to pit these teams against each other more frequently, get more revenue out of it. And yeah, obviously money is a factor, but this in part also has to do with catering to the needs of a wider audience and not just a minority European base anymore. What they don't understand, however, is that while they don't have the same emotional connect that a lot of us have with our respective clubs, clubs, they don't really respect the heritage and the culture that's been at every club, right? So since they don't respect that, it's comparatively easier for them to break away for what's been the standard for the past few decades, right?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that, like you mentioned, from a business standpoint, it makes sense to engage, to agree to join, have a super league, because you're gonna be making up all the lost money that you couldn't make during the pandemic because of no fans and stuff like that. So just joining the league, you're getting such a huge investment. I think 3.5 billion, whatever the amount is, it's a huge amount, and any club who are maybe they want to make money would want to join it, which is why, and also you're saying that there is no emotional connect from the owners. I think that is also true. I think a lot of it is greed, and many people have come out and said, they only are in it for the money, they don't care about the fans. Without the fans, football would not be a thing. So I think all these things are coming into consideration when a super league is being considered.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so let's get into who stands to gain from this. You think the fans really do have a lot to gain from this? I mean, of course they do. It's the full-on entertainment of 3 games a week and all the best teams in the world playing each other. The talent is on a top level. Competition is on a top level for fans. But don't you think fans of the game of football would despise this?
It's hard to say, right? Because right now we can all sort of hold our hands up and say that we're gonna hate this, but it's a large part of that is down to the fact that we don't want change from something that's worked, right? We don't want to change something that's been the standard, and we don't even want to explore the possibility that something might be better, right? So that's something that's largely down to the fans, and that's something that can be changed if the ESL is a success. But to get back to your question about who stands to gain from it, it's obviously the bigger clubs, right? Like that's the obvious answer here. Like Satyajit said, they get a cash inflow of 3.5 billion on just joining the tournament. So that money in itself creates like this massive gap between those 15 clubs and the rest of the pack, right? So it creates this massive gulf, especially in COVID. Like that money is gonna mean even more, and it's gonna widen this gulf, and over time it's gonna make this small group of clubs more competitive, and the poorer ones not so much, right?
No, look at it this way, okay? So imagine I am a founding member of the ASL. Next year, I want the best player in the world. He happens to be not playing in the ASL. I go to the team, throw a fraction, a minuscule fraction of the 3.5 billion euros that I have, and he's in my team. The team which is not so fortunate gains a lot of money, but they lose their player, they lose their talent. This is talent poaching. Don't you think if I am a founding member of the ESL, I can just easily poach talent wherever I want, making my league competitive for sure, but taking out from every other league that is not on my level? Don't you think that's unfair for the game of football?
Yeah, I mean, I think what you're saying is perfectly valid. But you also have to think of the fact that it's not just going to be one club which has 3.5 billion. It's going to be multiple clubs who have that kind of investment coming in. So you have to take that into account as well. And if you're a player, let's say Arsenal approaches you, and then Manchester City approaches you, and Manchester City or Barcelona or Real Madrid, they can approach all these players, and they will also have an edge over, let's say, Arsenal and Spurs, because they also have more prestige, more history compared to these two clubs in the European landscape. So you have to think of that as well. So to answer your question, I think it is going to be talent poaching, but I think it's not going to be just one club coming in. It's going to be several clubs competing with each other for the signature of a player.
Okay, Sato. So, going ahead with our topic, what do you think happens to Europe due to this league? What is the direct outcome in Europe due to the ESL? What do you all think?
Yeah, it's going to be massive for Europe. Teams like Real Madrid, Barcelona, who have been mainstays in the Champions League, will likely no longer participate in that competition. So it's definitely going to be a massive shift in the teams which participate. So I think in the Real Madrid, you probably see teams like Real Betis or stuff like that. Teams like that join the European the UEFA Champions League, and also it's also going to be huge for players because so there are rumors that FIFA is going to ban these players from representing their country. So that is something which they is huge for these players. And if they, let's say Haaland, for example, if he goes from Dortmund to, let's say, Real Madrid, Barcelona, or Manchester City, in who are going to be playing in the Super League, he would probably no longer be eligible to represent Norway. And I think that's a huge deal for many of these players who have grown up wanting to represent their country. So I think that is also a fact that is also going to change a lot in terms of the way the Europe and world football is going to be structured.
Yeah, well, I just want to chime in here and sort of discuss this as well. Firstly, I want to start with the impacts in the domestic leagues, right? So Premier League, La Liga, whatever. The idea that they're putting out there right now with their statements is that they disapprove of the ESL, and they don't want anything to do with it. And the clubs that do participate in the ESL will not be allowed to take part in the domestic leagues, right? So this initial statement itself, it sort of puts their intention out there, but I sort of question what they're actually going to do, because if if La Liga, for example, doesn't have Real Madrid or Barca playing for them anymore, viewership is going to go down, TV revenue goes down, sponsorship goes down. Their revenue, a large part of their revenue is just down to those three clubs, right? For the Premier League, a large part of viewership, of global viewership everywhere, is down to the top six, right? And you have that in leagues everywhere. So if you have leagues coming out and saying that they're not going to allow clubs playing in the ESL to take part in their leagues, I don't think that's true. I don't think it's in their best interest to do that.
Well, Trilip, don't you think it would be more sportsmanly of the domestic leagues to stand in unison with the other teams who have missed out? I think they should support each other. They should support the teams who have missed out on this. We should stand against the ESL and just try to get rid of it, because it will not help anybody except those first for 15 founding members of the ESL. Trust me, it's just the money inflow. It's a lot of things that just benefits these 15 teams single-handedly and nobody else in the world. I have a feeling, or I think that most leagues should just say, no, if you want to do that, then I don't think you should do this. We should stand in solidarity against this one damning thing in world football.
Yeah, this is something that I don't think will happen. Just because when the clubs who are playing in the ESL, they also want to play in the domestic leagues, right? So if they actually split away from the domestic leagues, like we just discussed, they're going to lose the bulk of their revenue, right? So if they do stay in the league, in the domestic league, like they want to, the domestic leagues, once they've been sort of allowed time to make a decision, they should be okay with it, just because it doesn't really affect them, does it? Except for the fact that the ESL is a more invitational kind of tournament where they already have 15 members who are sort of nailed in. Apart from the entire top four battle, it doesn't really affect the league in another way. It the top four thing is important, right? It is important, but other than that, it doesn't really change much for them. Also, I'd like to point out the impact on UEFA. It's this idea that the ESL will completely replace the Champions League is something that obviously the UEFA is against, because it essentially replaces the need for an organization like UEFA, right? The UEFA's main purpose is the Champions League. I don't think anybody watches the Nations League. Okay, you have the Champions League, and that's their product. Once you replace that, they have nowhere to go, which is why they've been the most vocal out there.
What about the Euros?
Oh yeah, the Euros too. The Euros too. Yeah, that's true. That's true. That was a brain fart. But the Champions League is their product, right? The Euros happen once every 4 years, I believe. So So once you do away with the Champions League, it sort of removes the need for a UEFA, right? Also the FIFA impact. I'm sorry, I'm going on a bit of a monologue here, but FIFA they also
Go
came
for it, lad. Finish your shit.
they also came out and said that they're not going to allow players to play internationally and that they disapprove of the ESL. Again, I think that's just a lot of initial statements being put out there. I don't think that's actually going to happen, because if you don't have the best players in your country playing representing their teams, the World Cup is just not going to have that appeal anymore, right? So I don't think it affects FIFA and the domestic leagues as much as it does UEFA, and that's important to keep in mind. So I feel
That's
like
a very, very important point.
I feel like the domestic leagues will probably go ahead with these clubs as it is right now. But the top four, like the entire incentive to finish in the top four, that will be gone, and that'll be massive. But the international games go on as well. Sarah, what do you have to say?
Yeah, speaking of initial statements, I read somewhere that if teams like Liverpool and Manchester United, let's say they decide to leave the European Super League and come back into the domestic system, they would have to start in like the National League, which is the fifth division of
The fifth division of football.
yeah. So these are all initial statements thrown out there. Like you said, I don't know if they will keep up with those statements. They might come to a compromise with the owners of the board of the European Super League, which is I think chaired by Florentino Perez, and I think that
Who would have known? Who would have guessed?
and
No, I
Glaze.
mean it was news for a while though. Like he was a very vocal advocate of it. So yeah. But Sarah,
Yeah.
go on, man.
So yeah, I think it's just going to come to a compromise between all the parties involved, and yeah, personally, I hope this doesn't happen. I hope the Super League does not happen. I hope FIFA's trying to say you won't be able to represent your country, will disincentivize players, but the possibility of that happening, I don't know how high that is. I think ultimately money talks, and that's highly possible. That's what we're going to see with the Super League.
Wise words, lad. Wise words. Uh,
Yeah.
Another important and interesting thing to talk about is Germany and France's decision to not join the ESL. What do you all think about this? Teams like PSG, teams like Bayern Munich, teams like Dortmund, teams like Lyon, teams like RB Leipzig, teams like Marseille. Nobody has chosen to join the ESL. What do you think about this? Do you think it's the right decision to make for global teams like Bayern and PSG? And what do you think about it?
I don't know. It depends. They might suddenly decide to join the Super League and make a U-turn in their decision. But I think the reason why some of the German clubs like Dortmund and Bayern have not joined the Super League is because of their ownership format. I think 49%. You cannot cross the 49% limit for private investors, and 51% of the club is owned by the fans. And I think that's a very admirable model because it keeps the power with the fans in terms of how the club is run. So I think that is a one big reason as to why Bayern and Dortmund and clubs like that have not joined it, and I applaud them for that decision. As for PSG, I think the owner of PSG has a great relationship with the UEFA president. I think that is one of the reasons why he does not necessarily want to go against UEFA. But ultimately, I don't know. I'm hearing rumors that Dortmund, Bayern, and PSG may say yes to the
Well,
Euro.
before we get into the rumors, I'd just like to say that our chairman Nasser Al Khelaifi, he's created his whole entire portfolio, his whole entire idea of a team behind winning the UCL, right? And I don't think it would be a smart decision for him to just leave all that behind, join a new league, because my man has an ideology. Clearly, he has an ideology. Over the years, we've seen it all unfold, and I do not think me as a PSG fan, I do not think he's gonna do it. I don't think he's gonna join the ESL.
I just wanted to, before we move on, I just wanted to talk about the Al Khalifi ideology. His ideology is based on the fact that he wants to win the Champions League with teams like Real Madrid, Barcelona, and Bayern Munich in it, right? And so if those teams leave the Champions League, I don't think it has the necessarily appeal for it anymore. I don't think his ideology remains the standard anymore, right? Also, another thing I'd like to mention is that is this monetary incentive that PSG and Bayern are losing out on. Like we spoke about, the teams in the ESL have like this $3.5 billion influx in cash immediately on joining. PSG, Bayern, Dortmund, they immediately miss out on that money, and it just widens the gap between clubs like Real Madrid, Barcelona, Chelsea, Manchester City, and the likes of Bayern and Dortmund. PSG not so much because they have that oil money going for them, but yeah, the clubs like Bayern, Dortmund, it's just not sustainable to keep competing with the likes of Real Madrid and Barcelona uh, on a sporting level without that kind of with that financial imbalance going for them.
Well, Barcelona are 1 billion in debt, so they really need it. Anyway, moving on. So what do you think is the future of football after this? What do you think this means for the future of football?
I think football as we know it is going to change. You'll probably not see any more underdog stories. Like you won't see the Lyons and the Ajaxes in Champions League, how they went deep into the tournament. You won't see those kind of storylines. You won't see, let's say, Porto winning a Champions League like they did under Mourinho all those years ago. So I think football as you know it is probably going to change. You're going to see like it's going to be like heavyweight boxing, big draw games, you know, games which are going to attract many eyes. And I think it's also important to consider that, as a fan who's just starting to watch football, you may not necessarily get appealed by the idea of, let's say, Burnley versus Leeds, underdog teams facing each other. You
What?
won't you won't
Yeah,
understand that kind of psychology and the tradition, and you will probably straight away want to see the big teams face each other. And I think for those fans who are coming in who do not understand like the traditions and the legacies which go in to European football for the number of centuries that it has existed, it's going to be it's not going to be that bad, because you're going to be like, yeah, I know you're not going to see Leeds versus Burnley, but at least you're going to see Inter Milan versus Real Madrid or Barcelona versus Bayern every week. So for those kind of fans, it seems appealing. But for majority of the fans who've grown up watching football, who've grown up loving football, who've grown up seeing the likes of these underdogs come up and beat the giants, and it's gonna feel weird. It's gonna feel different, and I don't necessarily feel that I'm gonna be for that. So I think that's one big change you're going to see in football as we know it.
Well, the format of the ESL, it clearly states that 15 of the teams are nailed in, right? And this is something I spoke about before. It removes the entire need for a top four battle, right? Because there's no Champions League anymore. Teams just don't have the incentive to get into the top four anymore. It removes that entire thing that they're fighting for, and that destroys everything that club football is for, right? So now it's just about avoiding relegation, right? If you avoid relegation, it's fine, life moves on, you go on with next season. Top four isn't really an ambition anymore, it doesn't really matter. And that destroys football as we know it. It removes all that club football has been about for the past few years. And yeah, it's not good. It's not good.
Yeah.
And I don't think any of us stand for it.
Yeah,
I
just
Yeah.
yeah, I was just gonna say that I don't even think the 15 founding clubs are gonna get relegated. So if they're like gonna come, I don't know, ninth or 10th or whatever it is, they're gonna come in their league. They just have no incentive to fight because they won't get relegated. They won't win anything. So as a fan, you're just gonna watch them go in and just play, unattractively and stuff like that. So definitely it's going to kill that as well. It's not just about top four fights which are going to be lost. It's going to be relegation battles that are also going to be lost. So as a football fan, you're not going to have that same emotion going into these games. I mean, that's all I wanted to add.
That's a great point. So you're saying that yeah, they don't have the same incentive to fight for top four. Their main incentive now becomes the ESL, right? And so as a result, what we could see potentially is our managers playing their second string 11s for domestic leagues, and then putting their main 11 for the ESL just to keep them sharp, right? Because that's the priority. Domestic leagues aren't anymore. Yeah, and that degrades the entire quality of the domestic league. So yeah, I get that's a great point. Let's move on though. Let's talk about what this means for this season. This is something that's more tangible, something we can see. What happens for the rest of the Champions League? What happens for the rest of the league? What's going to happen?
We don't know yet. See, that's the problem. So we are recording this in the morning of the 19th. We just got to know about all of this. So we still don't have all the facts on the table. We will be getting to know a lot of things in the next few hours. And guys, we do have an Instagram profile. We will keep updating the info. We will keep updating it with the latest of news regarding the ESL. So let's see what happens. There are a lot of rumors flying around. Sato, do you have any info about any of these?
Yeah, I'm hearing things that, I'm reading things rather, that the teams that are currently qualified for the Champions League semi-finals, like Real Madrid, Chelsea, and Manchester City, could be disqualified from that competition because of their announcement to participate in the ESL. So that could potentially mean PSG get awarded the Champions League. And also, in the Europa League as well, you see Arsenal and Manchester United are in the semi-finals. If they get disqualified, we are potentially going to see a Europa League final between Villarreal and Roma. So there are huge possibilities for the clubs this season. It's all very vague at the moment, but once these are possibilities which we need to consider, and yeah, we're probably gonna get to know more and more as the days come by.
Yeah. Well, I agree. I think I'm sad because I want the Champions League to sort of go on, and because we're in the semis, and I want Eden Hazard back at Stamford Bridge, and I want to play PSG in the final as well and kick their ass. But yeah, I think the Champions League, it's just probably going to come to a standstill now. Domestic leagues are probably just going to go on, but yeah, without the same appeal anymore. I question the decision in the middle of the season, especially at the business end when a lot of the clutch decisions are coming in, clutch results, big games. I question their decision to sort of announce the Super League now. It just doesn't make any sense. Why would they do that? Why not just put it out in the summer when the Euros are? Why not that?
Yeah, Tridib, I completely agree with you. I'm also flabbergasted by the decision to announce the ESL in the middle of the season, especially at this crucial stage where so many things are on the line, like Champions League qualification, relegation, Champions League semi-finals as well. So it's just going to deviate the players' focus from what's coming up, and that's never a good thing if you're a football club. So definitely, I'm a bit confused by this decision to announce it at this stage. But at the same time, it is what it is, and unfortunately, we just have to wait and learn the facts as they come. So yeah, let's see what happens for the remainder of the season.
Yeah, I think that's a good wrap on the ESL. I think we did a good job covering it and why it's happening, what's going to happen, potential impacts. So guys,
by the way, guys, we are releasing another video which is a weekend roundup, and we have talked about this matter. Although we don't have a lot of the facts that we do right now, we have gone kind of in depth about this. So please go check it out if you want to know more about this, and if you want to know what's going on in football over the weekend.
Yeah. Please check that out. The weekend roundup will be released after this. So if you're interested in the developments of the FA Cup and the Copa del Rey, the Premier League, for example, please go check it out. That's it from us for the Sons of Pitches episode 5, I believe, episode 4. We covered the ESL in depth here, and yeah, we're all very sad about what's happening, and we hope it doesn't happen. But yeah, stay tuned for more content, and we hope to see you soon.
Bye.